It was a car crash, like complete and utter car crash.
Oh, offside. I'm all for chat at the right goal.
Number 5.
You know, fight in the world almost, it feels. Like you don't realise you're in that moment.
It's out, it is correct, it is out.
In the stand. Ben, I can talk to my player.
Van Gaal getting a dressing down for the ref.
Ben Whitehouse.
Just almost died. Like things could have been life-changing. Text off the boy saying, "You all right, there?" And he was just like red, like blood, pints and pints and pints of blood. I should never have done that game.
Yeah. And have we got a podcast for you today on how it is? I've got somebody born in 1990 in Swansea. Comes from parentage which is just royal in the rugby world. His father is the internationally renowned Nigel Whitehouse. Went to Gowerton School, which is quite close around here, and played scrum half with the legend Dan Bigger. That must have been fun. Was he chopsy back then?
A little bit.
We've got the wonderful, the one and only Ben Whitehouse. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Loads to get through, and I've got so many notes here, so please excuse me for holding my notes. So you began refereeing at 19, or you started the whistles, you say, at 19, and you became the youngest referee to sign a professional contract with the WRU at 24.
Yep. Yeah, I think that might have changed now, because a little bugger called Ben Connor has come along at 20.
I've never heard of it.
He's probably going to be better than me. He's a fantastic young referee, but he's 22 now and just signed sort of a part-time contract with us, so great to see.
You started off in the police force. You know, it's not an easy thing to get into the police force. Why then you completely stop in the police force to be fully, because it's probably a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, huge gamble. So I joined the police at, I think it was 19, probably around the same time as I started refereeing. Yeah. Because I actually went to work away, I say away, in Ebervale, and I lived up in Newport for a while, or Cumbrae, sorry. And I refereed because I couldn't come back. So I thought, I'll referee up here. I had sort of dabbled a year before, that year leading into the police. But because I couldn't come back, I thought it was a perfect opportunity. I'll play for the police, play rugby for the police. I'll referee on a Saturday. If I can come back, I'll play for Penclough, and that was where I was with it. I did 6 years in the police, and refereeing sort of ticked over really nicely. The last 3 or 4 years, then it really kicked on. The last 3 years then really got busier. Especially the last year where I started refereeing in now URC, but it was the Pro 12 back then. And I got offered a contract by the WRU. Myself and Craig Evans, another referee, was reffing sevens at the time. So I got offered the contract, and I was at a bit of a crossroads then, because I've got this 30, 35 year career, or it's probably 55 now, the way things have gone, but 30, 35 year career here, which, guaranteed income every month, and unless I get sacked for doing something illegal, I've got a career for life. Yeah. Whereas the refereeing, if I was giving it up, is for a 3-year contract. Yeah. So at first I tried to get a career break. Yeah. And I thought, well, if I can get a career break for 3 years with a additional 5 years, I've got a safety net there, and I can always go back to the police. So it was all good. One of the guys had helped me sort it all out and chatted to HR, and it was all fine. And about 2 or 3 days before, they pulled the rug from under my feet a little bit, and basically just referred back to, look, we've sort of reassessed it, because you're going to be earning and in a different employment outside of it. It's not within our rules, terms and conditions, which is correct. It wasn't. Okay. But I was under the impression they were going to make me sort of make an exemption because I was representing the force, international stage, etc. But they sort of stuck to their guns and that. So I said, well, I'll probably have to just resign and just go full bore into the referee. And it, do you know what? It probably, sometimes when you haven't got that safety net, you sort of dive feet first. I have to do
exactly.
We were talking before. Sometimes you just have to go, well, I'm in now. Yeah. That's all I can do.
You've got to make it work.
Absolutely.
You have to make it work.
And 12 years later, I'm surviving by the
good for you. But I totally get it. Failure is not an option.
No, it wasn't.
And I remember my wife saying to me, because we had this £2,500 come in, and I'm going to put it on to this company, and she's like, have you
Yeah, we
actually
need it.
lost your
Yeah.
mind? You know, we can't pay for a mortgage.
Yeah.
She said, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, a global pandemic, and you want to start up a business.
Yeah.
I think you finally lost it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I have to make it work.
Yeah.
You know, failure is not an option. And, you know, luckily here I am now, but
Yeah.
I get it. Now, one thing here which has been put to is that you was diagnosed in 2014 with Crohn's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how, like, you know, I got recently diagnosed with celiac, which is a pain in the blooming ass,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah. Can be. Like this one.
Yeah. So how do you manage, you know, being a professional, you know, rugby referee and with Crohn's?
First of all, I think the diagnosis was probably the most important moment, because once you're diagnosed, you can sort of learn, hopefully, to manage it. And I think I probably had a few years from probably around, I was 14 when I was diagnosed, so probably from 20 to 24, where I was having, you know, maybe in and out of hospital a couple of times, unexplained problems. And then it got to a head in 2014. I was in the police. We were just leaving. It was an evening shift, about 1 o'clock in the morning they would have been. And I think we'd had like a curry, like for food. And I just remember sitting on the desk in the office and just thinking, oh, my stomach. I just feel like I was just grumbling stomach. Like I need to go to the toilet. So I was just watching the clock tick by as like, oh, the night shift are in. So I was like, when can we go? And I was like, look, I said, Sarge, I said, I need to go to the toilet. Can I just go to the toilet and head off? I don't feel very well. And I remember running downstairs to the toilet, like, you know, like as if you've had some food poisoning. And I went and I thought, maybe I got a bit of food poisoning. And I thought, maybe it's too quick. And then I remember looking down in the toilet and it was just like red, like blood, pints and pints and pints of blood. And I was like, this is not right. And I had an hour drive. I was working in Brimhour at the time, or Ebervale, I can't remember. And I remember driving home, that hour drive home down the heads of the valley. Yep. And I just remember having this feeling of like I'm filling back up. And that's what I told the doctors. I said, I've never had it before. I feel like I'm filling back up. And I went to the toilet in the house. Same again, like what looked like pints, but it wasn't pints probably, but, you know, tens of litres of blood just leaving me. And my missus took me to the hospital and I collapsed on the floor because I'd lost so much blood. I think they said it was like a 9-hour wait. Oh, wow. And I remember walking back to my chair after I asked how long, and just the next thing I know, I remember lying down on the floor with like my legs up in the air and then coming to, and it was all panic stations from then.
Oh my goodness. But it doesn't end there, because I also read that in 2017 you survived sepsis.
Linked to my sounds a bit Hollywood actually. This does now, but no,
like are you Iron Man or something?
I remember I went to 2017. I was reffing Belgium, Georgia, I think it was. I think they call it like the Six Nations B, like Rugby Europe, or nicknamed like the B Six Nations. But it was Rugby Europe, and my mum dropped me to the train station in Swansea, and she was like, "Oh, you don't look very well." And I was like, "I don't feel very well." I said, "I've been rough for a couple of days. I thought I had the flu." I was like, I was grey, and I was like, "I'll get this game done, and I'll go to the doctors on Monday." And I caught a train. We got the train out to Brussels, and the boys were all like, "You right?" I'm like, "Not really, lads." I said, "I'm gonna get to the hotel. I'll sleep. I'll wake up, do the game, and I'll do the same back. I just get through it." And I remember I sat with my coat on, my hood up, because I was just freezing cold.
Oh my god! All
the way, 7 hours or whatever it was on the train, and did the game somehow. I spent 24 hours in bed, woke up. I remember the boys knocked on my door with a baguette and a Mars bar and said, "You need to get up. You've got like an hour till the game." And I had no concept of time. I somehow managed to get through the game. It was probably one of my better performances. And then got home and I was like, I jumped in a hot bath. I couldn't warm up. I was shivering whilst in the bath and went to the hospital, and they said, "Oh, we think you got maybe an infected hernia," because it was sort of in the region where the pain was. And so they said, we'll maybe look to operate, but we're not too worried at the moment. And then I just remember the room just being like flooded with doctors then the next, half an hour. And then there was you've got sepsis, and they sort of drowned me in antibiotics. The worrying, my medical knowledge is rubbish, mind, so I might be wrong in what I'm saying here, but my memory of it, they were saying there was some kind of, not tumor, infected mass. I forgot what the word they used. But it actually then perforated the bowel.
Oh my goodness.
And that's the panic station side of it then. Once it perforates against the major organs, they were saying that there's not really much turning back from that. And I think from what the doctor said, a day or so longer, and there's no reversing what happens, and it would have been game over.
So with the Crohn's, do you come across any problems? Because I always think of like Gary Lineker with the World Cups when he had food poisoning and he purposely
luckily
rubbed his bum against the floor, if you know what I mean.
Touch wood, I haven't. I've been 2017 again, and like seminal moment, great. I've had the diagnosis, but then it was like we thought that it was like under control, but obviously it was quietly getting worse in the background. And then 2017, then it was more. I had an operation, so I've got like a big scar from like my chest down to my waistline. They opened me up, cut a section of bowel. I sort of shout out to my surgeon, Mark Davis, at the time, was superb. His registrar was an Ospreys fan, and I think another staff member of his was a Scarlets fan. And they saw my name on the list, and I think they came down from Cardiff. They were due to be in Cardiff, and they came down and did. And I remember the registrar basically saying like, we've come down from Cardiff. You owe the Ospreys one now. They said, joking, and they were brilliant. And he sort of. Going down to surgery, they were saying, we don't know how this is going to go. Like, we could have to take your whole bowel out. Oh my God. We could have to give you a temporary bag, a permanent stoma bag, or we may be lucky and be able to cut a section out and join it back together. So I woke up not knowing like how my life is going to be now for the rest of my life. And yeah, it was worrying, but like I woke up and he was able to do probably the least invasive of the lot and join it back together. That's not saying things will get worse. They may get worse, they may stay the same, but yeah, nothing really has affected, touch wood, refereeing. Fatigue, fitness, those sort of things sometimes are tough, but we have good days and bad days.
So what's harder then is refereeing a international rugby game or renovating a house at the start of COVID with a young family?
Definitely the latter. Yeah, that was
so for the viewers. Ben lives up the road from me, and I got to know Ben when I was walking my dog during COVID, and he was renovating a house, and we just started talking, and that was it, because we'd see each other every day in the lovely hot summers, which we don't seem to have anymore.
John would come up with his dog whilst I was in the middle of shoveling 2.5 ton of hardcore, and we'd end up stopping half.
Your dad is always there with
he was always out on the
all the time, regardless.
He'd take the barrow around the back, and I'd be on the shovel for about 6 hours a day.
So obviously your father was the obviously I'm assuming your father was the inspiration to pick up the whistle rather than
make no bones about it, I never picked a whistle up if my dad hadn't suggested it, but obviously it's all I ever knew really was my dad sort of traveling the world and refereeing big games, like the games I've been to, watching him and seeing him on TV when in different countries refereeing. It was like, well, like most people in Wales, you either want to play football or rugby for Wales. And that's all I wanted to do as a kid. But I wasn't good enough. It was the top and bottom of it. I knew what good enough looked like, and he played outside me for 10 years. And I was nowhere near that. So my dad sort of said, look, you can continue playing for Penclough, and that's what I would have done. Or you can take up the whistle and give it a crack. And I did, and never looked back really.
And, again, I've said this before, is that people always hold rugby referees, especially international rugby referees, in very high esteem. Why do you think there's such that difference, even from a very young age, with the attitude towards a rugby referee to a football referee? You've probably been asked this a million times.
Yeah, and if I'm honest, I don't know the answer, the golden answer to it. Like, our game is built on respect, and that's respect between, players, coaches, referees, fans, pundits, like everyone behind the background, behind the scenes. Everyone will see a referee being questioned now and again, or a commentator saying, "Oh, I don't agree with that," and it's bad refereeing. But behind the scenes, it's very much like everyone's mixes in and everyone has chats. And I go into Wales camp and stuff and referee, and I don't feel that I'm ever being treated as someone else. It's a game just built on respect.
So before an international, talk me through what's the program like, because I know even just getting you here, you're doing training, you're
Yeah.
doing camps, you're doing all these bits and pieces. Is there a long run up to it? Do you have a meal before? Do you have a meal after? You tell me.
Yeah, so like with the big international games like your Rugby Championship and your Six Nations, etc., obviously I can't talk as a main referee because I'm not referee, but in terms of TMOing, and then I can probably talk about like the European Cup games and stuff I referee. The week normally looks like, if you've got a game Saturday and Saturday, the structure of the week is normally that I'll review the game on a Monday, so I'll spend most of the day or most of the morning at least like reviewing that game. Then I'll have some calls with my coach about how he thought the performance went.
That's interesting.
And
it's like I've never thought of like you would have a coach, referee would have a coach, but of course it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just all about like, and so we'll have a performance review by an independent person from the league that we refed for, and that will be, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is what you should have done. So that's very much sort of a black and white. There'll be some discussion about some grey points, but it's very much this was right, this was wrong. Very binary performance review. Whereas my coach review, player coach, ref coach review, is very much about getting better for next week. Like, this was good, this was really good, this wasn't very good, what can we do now to fix it, to move forward next week. Tuesday then is a very busy day for us, where we're in the Vale, the National Centre of Excellence, and we're training in the morning 10 till, I should say I do train on a Monday as well, but in between everything. But on a Tuesday then we train as a group, so there's four professional referees, and then we have one or two others on the cusp that when they can come in, they come in as well. So we train like a team. We got weights, we got running sessions, and then we have some meetings then as a group, a wider group, at sort of in between like 4 and 6 p.m, after sort of people finish work. The top end of the game, people are professional, but the people then who assist us, like our assistant referees and some of our TMOs, they have full-time jobs, so they're managing, juggling the both. So we try and be as flexible as we can, hold the meetings after 5, so we meet as a group then, which is good.
And you're classed as the bunker specialist, is it?
The bunker specialist.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I've been on the bunker a couple of times, that's for sure. So we brought in the foul play review officer. Boys have been joking that I've probably been in it more than anyone.
Shermont versus Northampton game in 2017.
Yeah.
You described it as a car crash. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, 2017.
But you were probably just been fighting over the Crohns and everything in the set.
Yeah, like looking back, so that was just after that was basically one of my first games back after my operation.
Oh my God.
And I said it the other day in a talk that actually, looking back, I should never have done that game.
Yeah.
Because it was too soon after, like it was a major life event.
Yeah.
Like major life event. And we accepted that I was back and I was ready to carry on where I left off. But actually, no, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realise that in the moment though. You come back and you think, nah, I'm ready for this. I'll take anything on. And it was a car crash, like complete and utter car crash.
And you're a vocal advocate of, mental well-being.
Yeah.
And of officials, actually. So maybe was that the catalyst to start that?
Yeah, maybe. Like, again, like when you're in that moment, fighting the world almost, it feels like you don't realise you're in that moment until now. Like, now I look back and I was saying, well, I probably wasn't mentally ready for that game. I just almost died, without sounding a little bit dramatic. I did go through a life experience where I could have died, had major surgery. Things could have been life-changing. Things were life-changing, but it could have been even more life-changing. And I think I refed one game. I did Ulster Barbarians, which was my comeback game, to see if I could do a test match in the summer. That went fine, but it was just an exhibition game. And then I did an international game, Canada, USA, in USA, which again was great. But it probably wasn't as testing as this Clermont game.
But then we talk about the mental well-being, you're there every decision that you make, and you have, help from the TMOs and so on and so forth. But you're held accountable to every single bit of criticism.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
I suppose when you are the referee, you are within that team of 4, team of 5. You're the CEO of the ship. You're the captain of the ship. You're the CEO of the company. So ultimately, even if someone does make a decision, yes, they'll obviously get not slapped on the wrist, because I feel that's a very archaic term. They'll be questioned about it and looked at the decision. Why did you make it? How can you not make a poor decision like that again in future? But ultimately, the buck stops with you as the referee. You are the CEO, and if you haven't set your team up properly to do the job in front of you, then yeah, you're held accountable.
So do you ever go down that really bad rabbit hole of Googling your name?
No, not really. Early days, yeah, because you're young and you're young and it's all new.
Yeah.
Like you feel, I've done this big game and this big game.
That's probably the big difference between you and your father.
Yeah.
Your father never had social media.
I agree.
He never had millions of people in an instant to criticize. I know this, I know that.
And they just had sort of a write up in the paper on a Sunday or whatever, and that could be scathing at times, but that would be the chip paper the next day. So
me myself just doing a little bit of research. There's a bit on YouTube, and there's this guy should never
referee.
You've seen
the boys put in the group now and again.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, in the early years, 100%. Like it was, I did, and I make a point now of saying to young referees that if you can like form one habit, it would be to not do that, or not do one habit. It would be not to do that because I think like. There can be no good to come from it. So whether the criticism is really bad or it's good praise, it's just a moment in time. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I've grown up as every Welsh guy has of loving rugby.
Yeah.
I couldn't referee a game, not even a kids' game.
Yeah. I think they're the tougher ones, the kids' games.
It's
God.
not a chance. It's it's so hard.
Yeah.
And again, it's down to you to make that game flow. As I say, stay offside, boys. No, not doing this, not doing that. Which you don't see in. I can't really think of another sport. The referee's so pivotal.
Yeah, no, and just to touch on, before I move on to your second point around reffing kids' games, I reffed a game about, 6 or 7 years ago, I think it was, and it was just after I reffed Munster-Leinster in the Aviva, 50 odd thousand people. Yeah, it was full on. And I went on the Sunday, I think it was either the very next day or maybe the following week, and my cousin's team didn't have a referee. So he rung me up, the coach, and said, Whitey, can you come down and like 10 minutes, can you come down and just do the game? He said 11 o'clock. Yeah, I'll come down and do it, no problem. So I turned up and refereed. I won't name the other club because it's not fair. It's just one-off thing, and the player goes down crying. I don't know what happened. Pencloud go and score. I walk back to the halfway line, see the kid crying, so walk over to the kid and just say, you right, buddy? Like, take your time, we'll kick off when you're ready. And coach comes on, who turned out to be his dad, and said to me, basically on the lines of like, he's handed him off in the face, you're not allowed to do that at this level. Firstly, I said I didn't realise you weren't allowed to do it at this level because there's obviously different law variations. And I said, secondly, I didn't actually see it, so sorry, mate. Like, apologies. We'll wait for him, and when he's ready, he's ready. So this went on a little bit, and he said, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" I said, "Well, nothing." I said, "There's nothing I can do. A, I didn't see it, and B, I didn't actually realise that was the rule. I'll make sure I look out for it in the future." And he said, "Yeah, see, this is under 12s now." He said that this is the problem. I'm all for giving young referees a chance to referee games, but you're just clearly not ready for this level. I didn't know if he's hanging my chain a little bit, so I said, I refereed Munster-Leinster last week. Like in shock. Yeah. I was just like, I refereed Munster-Leinster last week, I said. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, sure you did.
I said, and then I found myself like arguing with him. I was like, I did. I did. So you end up probably making 500-600 decisions a game.
Yeah. So because I wouldn't know how to start becoming a referee.
It's probably a really good point. We're at the moment where we're trying to improve like recruitment and retention of referees.